Kind of crazy, I have to say. But welcome back to our final day of Agentic AI and the student experience. It has been jam-packed the last couple of days, and I have to tell you, today will continue that. We have a keynote, we have 2 panels, we have a book signing, and then later we'll hear from Senator Sinema when she sits down for a fireside chat with Lev Gonick. But first, I am so excited to welcome this morning's keynote. Interestingly enough, I have just learnt that our 2 presenters for the keynote have not actually been together for 7 years. This is the first time that they are doing this together, and the book signing that will take place after the keynote, they have not actually done a book signing together before. So this is incredibly special. So please give a warm welcome to Chief Digital Evangelist at Salesforce, Vala Afshar, and co-author Henry King as they surface insights from their new book, which I have here, Autonomous: Why the Fittest Businesses Embrace AI-First Strategies and Digital Labor. Please welcome our keynotes to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Di. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Vala Afshar, Chief Evangelist at Salesforce, and I'm here with my best friend, Henry King. And we thank you for having us here.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. My name's Henry King. Thanks, Di. Thanks, Lev, for inviting us here. We really appreciate it. And thanks to President Crow as well for having us here. Thanks to all of you, because, of course, if you weren't here, then we wouldn't be here either. So our presence is dependent on your presence, so thank you. As Di rightly said, the last time we actually met each other was in 2018, actually 2017. And we have worked remotely on 2 books and 50 articles since that time. And it was obviously an extraordinary pleasure for me to actually meet Vala again in person after 8 years. One of the things that has kept us kind of together, if you like, and the main thing that we really want you to take from this morning, if you only take one thing, is that nothing happens until something moves. Movement has basically been the main thread for us, the steel thread, as people like to say, for those last 8 years for the 2 books. In our first book, Boundless, we were really focused in on the problems of silos. And as you know, I mean, silos exist everywhere. They exist in higher ed, but they exist in all industries and in most companies. And if there's one thing about silos is that they are dedicated to accumulating and protecting and controlling access to resources, whether those resources are people, expertise, data, money, physical material, basically any resources. The one thing that silos are not about is about movement. And as you know, if you work in a siloed environment, trying to get anything to move in that environment takes acts of heroics. But in this age, right, where speed is one of the main currencies of this age, speed and intelligence, you can't afford to have movement by heroics. You need to have movement routinely. And so this was what first book was about. The second book, Autonomous, is much more about the flow of data and why it's so important for all of our organizations in this world of AI to encourage and increase the flow of real-time data. Because without real-time data, you can't generate information. Without information, you can't build knowledge and learning and wisdom. And without without generating and building those, you can't then make strong decisions and take decisive actions. And Vala is going to be talking a lot more about that loop of being able to sense, understand, decide, and act at the speed of need. And with that, so one thing, nothing happens until something moves.
I just want to sit in the audience and listen to Henry. As I'm listening to you, I enjoy not just the accent, but your shared wisdom. Henry and I started our journey 10 years ago with Salesforce. And during that 10-year period, we've witnessed 4 waves of innovation in the space of artificial intelligence. The first wave was predictive use of machine learning. The second wave was generative. And the world opened up its eyes in October of 2022 in terms of the power of language models. And now we're witnessing concurrently the third and fourth wave, the agentic revolution. Yesterday, someone wisely said, do not view AI as a tool anymore, because now we've given intelligent software agency and autonomy to take action. So it can be viewed as a colleague, as an assistant, as someone that can help you execute. And then physical AI, drones, humanoid robots, and you can go outside and count to 60 and you'll see a car drive by you without a driver, autonomous vehicles. So Henry and I want to talk to you about this physical phenomena in terms of use of AI, because it's a reminder that it's real and it's happening now. It's projected that robo-taxis, autonomous taxis, will have about 50 million in operation in 5 years by 2030. And this is going to be a multi-trillion-dollar industry. The biggest companies on earth, and not just car companies, you're talking about Alphabet, Amazon, companies are looking to deliver software and hardware to empower this phenomenon of autonomous driving. My company had a conference last week in San Francisco, and that's the headquarters of Salesforce. And when you're in San Francisco, you literally can count to 10 seconds, and you see Waymos driving by. This car is a Jaguar retrofitted with incredible amount of technology, north of hundreds of thousands of dollars of technology. You have LiDAR sending million laser pulses to determine size of an object up to 300 to 500 meters away. You have cameras that take high precision photography, up to 13 cameras on an average Waymo. You have radar that functions more accurately at night and during inclement conditions like rain and snow and sleet. You have ears, extended audio receivers. So if there's an ambulance or a police behind you, even sound of children, you can manage the car, slow down, pull to the right. So in the enterprise, when we talk about disparate set of data existing in lakes and warehouses, this car functions capturing all these data sources and in real time determines how to operate in a busy city when transferring humans. And what's important to understand here is that this is a signal-seeking machine. The autonomous vehicle is proactively sending signals and trying to understand how to best immerse itself in the environment that it's in. So think about your institutions. How quickly can you detect a signal from a freshman who may be disengaged, may not be taking advantage of tutoring or attending sporting events or buying gear from the bookstore? How do we proactively understand and ensure success? Waymo surpassed Lyft this year in terms of number of rides in San Francisco. It was launched in 2017, and it took up to end of last year to get the first 5 million rides, and now the second 5 million happened in the first 5 months of this calendar year. It's considered one of the most valuable private company startups in the world, top 5. The lowest projection, it's valued at $45 billion. Highest for this year is projected at $250 billion. There's only 800 Waymos competing with 45,000 humans in San Francisco. The ratio of productivity is 60 to 1 or 1 to 60. Remember, it's constantly operating. So when you talk about productivity in terms of autonomous modes, so one of the most valuable companies, and the valuation is almost a 600x multiple. My company, public SaaS company, you're lucky to get 8, 9, 10x multiple. So it's an indication in terms of the future and premium value we place on technologies that are AI companies defining the future. It's scary to be in a Waymo, but it's happening. May last year, it logged 500,000 miles. May of this year, 4 million, so 8x. We don't have Waymos in Boston, but it's a reminder that technology, often powerful technology, adoption is gradually and then suddenly. And this is against this overall sentiment. AAA this year asked US drivers whether they trust self-driving cars. Only 1 out of 10 trust. So even a 90% negative sentiment or hesitancy. And by the way, it is scary to get a ride in one. As a technologist, I have to admit, it is. It's just, but that's okay. When you're thinking about emerging technology, having that balance of excitement and scary, I think, is a good thing because it'll force us to stretch ourselves. So the future is here. It's just unevenly distributed. It's not. We don't see these cars in Boston. We will. There are more than a dozen cities, obviously including Phoenix, that has this technology. Now, what's even scarier is to get into a second-generation autonomous vehicle, because when you get into the cybercab, the first thing you notice is that there's no steering wheel. There's no gas or brake pedal. There's no mirror. There's no back window. All human user interfaces have been removed. Some courageous engineer, probably 5 years ago. She raised her hand in a design review meeting and said, I have an idea, let's remove the steering wheel because it's wasteful to drive cars. It's safer to have the software operate the vehicle. By the way, there's been 0 fatalities with Waymo since its inception. So we need to think about when it's safe for us to remove our hands from traditional steering wheels we have that guide our businesses. And AI-first companies, I believe, are the companies that are going to not only thrive but grow. And here in San Francisco last week, you saw the Amazon Zoox. And with this, not only all the human user interfaces have been removed, but there is no concept of front or back with this car. You'll talk about enterprise stack, front office applications, back office applications. Our belief is that that line will be blurred, and so it's easier to maneuver. The experience is totally different. You're facing each other, and this is happening right now. So if you're questioning the power of machine learning and the power of being a signal-seeking machine, all companies are going to operate in this fashion. Some have even gone to what I call extreme autonomy. This is, I don't know if it's, sorry, I'm going to go back. This video is not, okay, let's see if it's playing. Oh, sorry, my bad. Let's go back one. In China, you see boxes moving on highways. No radio, no heater, no air conditioning, no seats. The entire cost of truck and transferring products has been removed to this design. I don't know, simplicity to ultimate sophistication. We have to be mindful when we talk about this technology because it's no longer a tool anymore. It can execute on your behalf. It has agency. It has reasoning. It can learn. But I'm reminded that there's 5 million men and women that make a living ride sharing. Not even truck drivers, just your ride sharing. And so this technology will have societal impact, and how we educate our future leaders to understand that, for the first time we're dealing with a technology that's far more significant, and it doesn't follow the rules of the past. Important recognition for the technologists in the room is that there is a different operating system with these autonomous vehicles because they can sense, capture information, again, LiDAR, radar, extended audio receivers, cameras. They can capture information. They can understand this information. They can decide and reason based on their understanding, and then they take unsupervised action. This pseudo-model, sense, understand, decide, is happening at machine scale. It's happening at machine scale. And there is not just situational awareness with the car. When the car in front of you slows down, you slow down. The car in front of you stops, you stop. Situational awareness. But when the car commits to getting you to your destination on that promised time, every time we take ride sharing, it estimates when you'll be arriving at the destination. If that stop-and-go traffic is preventing you to make your next meeting on time, unsupervised, the car will take a different route to ensure you get there on the promised time. That's horizontal awareness. As we implement agentic capabilities, because the software has understanding of all the prior touch points, all the present touch points, and it can scenario plan in the thousands, not just 1 or 2 or 3 scenarios. That level of dimensionality gives it horizontal understanding. And this is critically important as you build your technology stack. For the first time with this technology, you have situational and horizontal. And this is happening with a delta time of sensing and acting converging to 0. You can't compete with institutions that have an operating system that can do this. And that's the power of machine learning. And then one thing that is also important to remember is my father is 85. This year, I had to take the keys away from him. My dad and I are car guys. My whole life, the best way I connected with my dad is go to auto shows and share incredible moments in a car. Any of you who drove here today, when you drive back home, you have one job when you get in your car: drive the car. One job. When you get to a level of autonomy, you now have infinite or nonlinear optionality in terms of what you do. When you sit in a Zoox or a Cybercab, you can take a nap, you can binge watch Netflix, you can read the great blogs that Lev is posting every week. Unbelievable blogs, by the way. You can better yourself, and you have optionality. In business today, as you implement intelligent software, you will find nonlinear optionality in terms of how you use your resources. You can assign high-value, non-repetitive, non-deterministic, boring tasks, defer that to software, and enable your human employees to tackle more complex, more challenging, more high-value assignments. And this can only come from this autonomous. And also, 5 million men and women every year lose their vision in the US. I have friends who have seizures and no longer can operate a vehicle. So all the disabilities, age, all of that in the near future will no longer prevent you from getting from A to B because you no longer have to worry about operating the machines. Talk about another important aspect of this incredible autonomous capability.
Thank you, I will. So if that chart there that showed that kind of hockey stick curve going straight up, again, as Vala just rightly said, that only happens when you have an AI-first design strategy. Whether you're designing a product, whether you're designing a student experience, whether you're designing a process, a core business process, whether you're designing an organizational structure, it will only happen, you will only get those results if you think about AI first. Here's another example. It may not look like an example of AI, but if I was to tell you, for instance, that stability was the prerequisite for performance, you'd probably nod and say, well, that sounds sensible, that sounds kind of right-ish. And in fact, I even asked ChatGPT, I was like, Chat, is stability a prerequisite for performance? And it said, oh yeah. And I was like, gotcha. Because in our research, what we actually found is that stability and performance are at the opposite ends of the spectrum, at least when it comes to conventional non-AI systems. So it's something like the red flyer, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with, either from your own childhood or from your children's experience. This is built for stability, right? It's built so it won't fall over. It resists, if you like, the gravitational and then inertial and equilibrium forces, and it just stands there by itself, very happy until the child gets on and you cycle around, and it's great. It's easy to manage, easy to use. It's not fast, it doesn't have long distance, and it's not very maneuverable. Unlike, for instance, a road bike, which is much, much faster, has a much greater range, it's much more maneuverable, and yet it's what they call inherently unstable. At least it's inherently unstable at rest, which means, of course, that if you put your bike and you take your hands off it, it falls over. Right, so now this relationship between stability and performance is not really a problem in most products. In fact, it's actually a good thing because it means that we have a range of products that suit a range of user. So whether it's bicycles, or whether it's running shoes, or whether it's kitchen knives, or whether it's cameras, or whether it's any other kind of sports equipment, you've got that trade-off between stability and performance, and that works. But at a higher level of complexity, of more complex systems, something more interesting and more difficult starts to happen. So if you take the Cessna Skyhawk, the 172, this is actually the most successful airplane in the world, in history. Between 40 and 50,000 individual Skyhawks have been built. And there's a very simple reason. It's unbelievably stable. It's aerodynamically stable, and it's the most used aircraft at training schools, at pilot training schools around the world, not just in the US, but around the world. And the reason for that is, if the trainee pilot freaks out, they can just take their hands off the yoke or the steering wheel, and it will get back to equilibrium. It will find a straight and steady path, all on its own. Even if the engine cuts out, it will glide straight and smoothly. It's very stable, but it has no speed and it has no maneuverability. And you would think, okay, that's great. That's what we need in most cases, and that's true in most cases. But in some of the cases, you need performance. You need very special kind of performance. And the F-117 Nighthawk, a very different kind of a hawk, was the world's first plane that was there specifically to become invisible to radar. That was the design challenge that was set at Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works. It wasn't, let's make a plane stable. It was, let's make a plane that is invisible, indetectable, stealth, to radar. Two big problems that they faced. First is that no one knew how to do it. It was a physics problem, and that wasn't sorted out until they came across a Russian paper that suggested about the diffraction of radar. So that was the first thing. But even when they figured that out, what they left with was something that looked like this, which was inherently unstable in all 3 dimensions, which means it couldn't fly, at least managed or flown by a human pilot. It literally would fall out of the sky. And so what they had to do is, before they could even build it, they had to create fly-by-wire. That's where fly-by-wire comes from. And fly-by-wire is a computerized system inside the aeroplane that takes thousands and thousands of measurements per second and makes micro adjustments to all of the control surfaces that then allows the humans on board not to worry, as Vala was talking about with the car, to become a machine operator. It allows the pilot on board to take control of the mission itself, to achieve the mission, which is to get through enemy radar and deliver its payload. That's the mission. And that's what we believe is true of autonomous systems. They allow the computers, the AI, the intelligence, to deal with operational autonomy and give the humans mission autonomy. So in a traditional business, in a traditional system, you have a trade-off. You can either have high stability or you can have high performance. You can't have both. But up at the top right-hand corner, you now have this zone, which we're calling, of course, because we're egotistical, we're calling it the autonomous and boundless zone. And this is where you can have both. So for the first time ever, you can build systems, whether they are airplanes or any other product, or businesses, organizations that have both.
An example of this is in marketing. You get messages about an event, and it says do not reply, because you're sending lots of messages outbound and you don't have the manpower to respond to those messages coming inbound. You no longer have do not reply, because now you have agentic layer in your marketing where you can send 1 million messages outbound, and you can have actually agents respond to inquiries that come inbound. So in whether it's your call center or your marketing, we in the past, in order to measure and manage that Pareto frontier, we've always throttled back or had unidirectional communication. That's no longer the case anymore, so it's no longer performance or stability. This conference has been about agentic AI, so there's a lot of commentary and insights have already been shared. Just know that we understand language better. Software understands language better through the science of natural language processing. The software can reason. There's a lot of technologies combined: semantic search, vector database, regenerative augmented generation, all these acronyms that describe scientific mathematical models used where the software can think, can reason. And it can also execute. You can implement this logic in complex workflows, and it gets better every time. So it's remarkable in terms of intelligence, speed, and scale, what you can achieve. You will see a maturity model in terms of adoption of agentic capabilities. It'll initially be tasks that you assign. It'll group of tasks that could be a role. Ultimately, it could be multiple roles within a department. It could be, so it'll become enterprise-level agentic orchestration, and then ecosystem level, where agents are speaking to agents outside of your company, other brands. Every software company, every company that you use to build your tech stack will have agents, so there'll be orchestration, and ultimately choreography. Believe it or not, this will be, when done right, it's not about command and control. It's like dancers on stage. You hear the music data, and the dancers know exactly where to go, where the other dancers are. We're going to see much more of a choreography structure in business versus orchestration, but we will certainly have a layer of orchestration that's there. My company has been using agentic capabilities for a year. Example, in terms of cognitive transfer, our support help site, help.salesforce.com, is our most highest volume interface with our customers, over 30 million interactions a year. We now have agents that provide service and support to our customers. In a 25-year history of Salesforce, the humans running service could get to 61% first contact resolution. Our agents right now are at 77%. We'll never go back. This is how we can best serve our clients in terms of the ability to provide solutions to them. To the right, it's more about a cognitive upgrade. My company's 80,000 strong. 1 in 5 career changes at Salesforce is now guided by a career agent. The agent looks at your job, your current skills, your aspirational job and career that you're pursuing, does a skills analysis, then recommends courses that you need to take. We have Trailhead, and we use, obviously, our educational partners. And so 1 in every 5 shifts since February of this year at my company has been guided by an agent. So I think a balance of cognitive transfer and cognitive upgrade is how you successfully approach using smart software. I won't bore you with, any line of business, any touch point is an opportunity for you to transfer, again, those repetitive low-value tasks to free up and elevate your human resources to tackle more important work to ensure stakeholder success. My company founder believes that this is not about new technology, this is a new revolution, it's new business model, it's a new economy. And as a father of 3, and my oldest just started working at Deloitte, and during the interview process, they literally asked her about her favorite language model, her favorite use of AI, how many applications she uses on a daily basis, what she's learned about tonality, sentiment, different personalities of various language models. It was incredible to see that, and I believe that regardless of what function, what industry, what company, we need to make sure that when students leave our organizations, they're proficient with this technology, because I believe it's electricity for the 21st century. If you don't have access to it, you're not comfortable with it, it's going to be hard for you to compete and win. Some of the superpowers of AI, and we'll go fast because I recognize first time we're presenting and we love talking about this. Henry, please.
Yeah, you can tell, right? This is the first time we've been together for 8 years, and so we could be doing this for hours, well after you've gone home.
We do.
Like, so we actually, part of the secret of how we managed to write 2 books is that we meet twice a week for an hour, every Tuesday, every Friday, and we have done for all of that time. So I'm going to really shoot through these very, very quickly, such that Vala has enough time to finish it up with one of our favorite stories. And so, as he said, some of the superpowers of AI are about reducing waste, reducing blockages, and increasing flow. Now, I've already banged on about flow, but just come back to it just a little bit here. Health and success are dependent on flow. And this is not just in organisms, although we focused on it a little bit, but it's also true on most machinic systems, and it's true in most organizations, in whatever industry. With organisms, of course, with living organisms, there's a different approach to making sure that there's a movement of important nutrients and energy and materials throughout the system. And rather than having silos, right, that accumulate all this stuff and hoard it and protect it, we actually have pumps. And we have pumps that take the push and pull all of those important resources around the system to wherever they're needed most, and at the time when they're needed most. So of course the heart doesn't work routinely in the same way the whole time. When the muscles need more oxygen, then the heart beats faster in order to get oxygen to them. And then obviously relaxes later. So pumps are a very, very important part. The obvious idea of a circulatory system. You've probably heard about the circular economy from a waste perspective, from a material waste perspective. It's the same kind of idea, making sure that these resources are utilized and they're refreshed every time they get around the system. They're refreshed with new energy. Meanwhile, in our businesses, they don't quite work like that. And as Donna said yesterday afternoon, we spend an awful lot of time doing what she eloquently called dumbass work. Dumbass work.
So much better in his accent, yeah.
I'm not sure whether I could pull that off or not. But she's right? I mean, we all have that experience on an all too frequent basis. And so the question is, what is that work? Isn't that work wasteful? Wasteful to the system, wasteful to us when we're doing work that really we shouldn't have to do. And maybe no human should actually have to do it. And so when we think about waste, we're thinking about the misuse or overuse or underuse of any resource to do a job. And for us, we think that waste management, waste reduction, waste elimination is actually a much better strategy than cost reduction. We know that organizations, again, across all industries, go through cycles where they have to be in cost reduction mode, and we've all heard do more with less, right? We've all heard that, and we're all involved in some way or another with that kind of cycle. But waste reduction is actually much more powerful because all waste has a cost attached to it, but not all costs are wasteful. So, and then blockages, again, blockages are things that reduce waste. In the human body, 50% or so of our major causes of deaths are all to do with blockages. Whether that's in the heart, or whether that's in the blood, or whether it's in the brain, or anywhere else in the body, nearly all of the major causes of death are blockage related. And in the book, if you've already had a chance to flick through it, you'll see that we overcompensate a little bit with blockages. We've got about 4 or 5 pages of bullet points on blockages because we couldn't believe how many we found. But the leading cause of death in humans, in most organisms, and we believe in businesses, is silos and blockages.
70% of Fortune 500 companies have disappeared since the year 2000. And it's very hard to identify blockages in business. The water is running, so you think there's healthy flow. And so it's hard to root cause, it's hard to remedy blockages in business. So we believe the fittest businesses are the ones that can remove waste, that can identify blockages, and can become self-driving. And Mary Meeker's famous annual report shows that your space, higher education, for this year is extremely aggressive. In fact, the top industry in terms of adoption of agentic capabilities in order to create that autonomous behavior, which is fantastic news. So there's definitely a sense of urgency to leverage this technology to achieve more. And again, in the 30 years I've been in tech, the rate of change and the velocity, speed and direction is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my career. So we have to adopt a beginner's mindset and recognize that this is digital Darwinism. It's survival of the fittest, and it's not the strongest. If you had thick fur, you can survive the winter. So how can we be more adaptable and create learning models that enable our students and to have life learning capabilities and adaptability? Really fast, so I'm just going to highlight a person that's inspired both of us when we talk about removing silos and creating healthy flows. Chef Jose Andres came to the US at age 20, immigrated from Spain. Over the next 2 decades, he became a 2-star Michelin chef. His guiding principle, simple ingredients prepared in a simple way. Part of our job is to bring simplicity and logic and synthesize and connect the dots so that our students feel good about what's happening and motivated and inspired. So simplicity is key. In 2010, there was an earthquake in Haiti. Just with a credit card in his pocket, the good chef went and sat next to Haitians, rich beans on white rice, and fed thousands of children, men, women, grandparents, only to recognize that we as a society cannot, we don't have the resiliency to combat when there's an earthquake, a hurricane, war. So he launched World Central Kitchen. And his guiding principle was, sometimes you just have to decide to do something. When you leave this incredible 3-day event, what are you going to decide to do when you go back to your institutions? How are you going to educate? How are you going to make that sandwich to fill the stomachs of folks who are maybe uneasy about this new emerging technology and the job market? And there's a convergence of uncertainty right now, and it's our jobs to inspire and educate. And he says in an emergency, you have to learn to listen. You have to listen to the unsaid. You have to listen with your eyes. You have to listen with your heart. You really have to be a good listener, and this is beyond Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours, because I've done 10,000 hours of listening, and I still know I have such more work to do. So empathetic and accessibility and listening. The good chef also said, I've been a cook all my life, but I'm trying to become a good chef. I was a cook the first 40 years of my life. I'm an electrical engineer, undergrad, grad. You give me a functional spec, you give me a recipe, and I can build to that spec. But if that spec was missing, I'm not sure if I can create a delicious meal. Most of my life, I learned by analogy, not first principle. A chef learns by first principle. A chef understands the taste of each ingredient. So when the recipe is missing, a chef can combine ingredients and create a delicious meal. In the last 20 years, new ingredients, cloud computing, mobile networks, social networking, Internet of Things, quantum compute, augmented virtual reality, about 13 derivatives under this umbrella we call artificial intelligence, quantum compute, distributed ledgers, and blockchain. Imagine if you're using old recipes, learning by analogy, there's a possibility you would miss killer ingredients that's absolutely needed to create meals that matter. So this chef applied those first principles and decided he had a silo mentality with World Central Kitchen. He decided he was going to launch men and women who were restaurant workers and these disastrous locations by paying them to help them expand World Central Kitchen. He went to raise $10 million. He ended up raising $150 million. He activated 2,800 restaurants, and he moved from a silo to a boundless model where he could scale and accelerate the speed of food distribution. And all the stakeholders won because these local men and women were actually using local ingredients, local recipes, so the food brought warmth and comfort to the people that were feeling disasters and losing their homes and jobs and so on and so forth. You may know about Chef Jose, you may know about World Central Kitchen, but you may not know that he has less than 100 people on his payroll and he can deliver 1 million meals a day every day. No other entity on earth can deliver as many meals as he can. So regardless of the size of your team or your institution, with the right mindset, you can scale. And when the good chef was in Boston, he said, Vala, distribution is life. Imagine how you can distribute value at the speed of need to all your stakeholders. And if you can do that, you can achieve World Central Kitchen. Final slide. Be a chef, not a cook. Throw away the old recipes. You need to have courage. You need to have an ecosystem. You need to recognize the smartest person in this room is the room. So hopefully you seek random collisions and leave these 3-day conference learning from these incredible smart men and women that are sitting here. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm here with, the inventor of all these concepts, Henry King. It's a privilege for us to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just going to say, I think you should do this a little bit more often. What an incredible treat to start our Friday morning in this way. Vala and Henry, that was incredible. And thank you. You clearly got the memo of high energy and a lot of enthusiasm. Thank you for joining.